Right. And it's one of those chicken and egg situations, right? So it's kind of like if you lived in a society that was more graceful and less judgmental and less kind of you have to align with our morals, otherwise you're divergent and you're the problem, right? If we had a society that was more accepting and I guess tolerant of that behavior, would there be better mental health? Would there be less of that dissonance that is happening? Because it does. I know plenty of performers that are in the same boat, and I know plenty of performers like myself that are like, I don't care, like I'm proud of my body of work, all of these things, right? There's both exist at the same time. Um, I do know that even with me being okay with my decisions, that it doesn't say I haven't had my struggles and I haven't had, moments of, is this all worth it? Because I mean, I have family members that don't talk to
Mhm.
me because of my career,
Mhm.
ones that I was really
Mhm.
close with, and it
Mhm.
sucks. It was
Mhm.
someone that I've really valued and
Mhm.
loved, and I still love.
Mhm.
Um,
I'm
but
sorry.
that's, you know what I mean? But that's not my stuff. That's their stuff that they have to work out, because again, it
Yeah,
comes down to
right.
um judgment and who is in a place to judge. Like, and we're all flawed, like you said. We've all done things that are less than perfect, and to be in a position where again you're demonizing an entire group of people because of one decision that you don't agree with doesn't make sense. So you get a lot of, I live in the South, so there's a lot of people that have an issue with my career choice, and you can't deny that impact on mental health, right? And it's not to say that there's other stuff, because I've dealt with stuff on set that if I wasn't who I was, it could have maybe had a longer lasting impact, right? I can be abrasive when I need to, and I can stand up for myself when I need to, and I'm very okay with being disagreeable. That's kind of my comfort zone. I'm very fortunate in that regard given the choices that I've made. But I know that that's not the case for a lot of women, right? Women tend to be more agreeable. And especially in those contexts when you're on set and you're the only woman surrounded by men, and then you have this guilt that no one's going to get paid if you don't do this. Your career is going to be over and you've already done film. So now what are you going to do? There's just a lot of moving parts to this. Um,
Mhm.
do you know what I mean? So
Totally.
that's when
Yeah.
it comes to something like OnlyFans, or these other platforms that have verification. To me, it's like that is so necessary. That's so necessary for the safety of these women that have made that choice. Because I've never been in a threatening situation producing for myself.
Mhm.
Any threatening situation I've ever been was working for another company, and sometimes really large companies. Like
Mhm.
you wouldn't be shocked, but some people would be shocked, right? Because a lot
Mhm.
of that is supposed to be above water, and it's not necessarily always.
Mhm.
Um, so for me, I hope that the future of the industry is consenting adults producing for themselves through a verification process. Like there, it is verified that they are consenting and of age, and that they're not beholden to this mega company that can ruin their lives
Mhm.
or can put them in danger. And I think that that also helps alleviate illegal content being posted, or hopefully, right? I mean, there's countries that don't have porn at all that have a lot of abuse material that's being circulated. So it's like, well, how do you get to that root? Because right now we're seeing a symptom. So attacking the symptom never extinguishes the
Mhm.
problem. So I would love your take on the root and
Mhm.
how you plan on tackling it. Because I've thought about this for a long time. I'm also involved in a trafficking nonprofit. And so it's something that's like dear to my heart, because it's one of like the darkest corners, I think, in humanity. And it brings tears to my eyes when I think about it.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm at a loss, right? So like, how do we find that?
Mhm. Thanks for your work in that space. That's awesome. Um, yeah, I mean, you're raising so many like really, really huge things that we have to unpack as a society, that we have to wrestle with, that we have to discuss. I'm trying to figure out what angle to come at it from, because there's a lot here, for us to
Mhm.
discuss. Maybe I should just kind of like back out for a second wide and just kind of give a little bit of perspective for how I came into this.
Sure.
Because I also think that, as a man, um, I want to be careful how I speak into this space. Um, a lot of my, a huge significant portion of my passion and message is to men. And like, where are you coming from? I've even talked with webcam models that describe the experience of webcamming as far more abusive than prostitution
Mm.
because the men feel more entitled to demand certain uh, humiliating and derogatory acts from women, as well as bully them, as well as say all kinds of awful things about them. So the experience of being in front of a web camera, it has kind of the notion that like, well, this is, I'm choosing, in my autonomy to do something that's very self-contained and all that, but it's putting you in a situation where you're going to be exposed to men who often feel entitled, who themselves have grown up in porn culture and and adopted a lot of very toxic ideas and beliefs about women, and then those men are offloading their own existential um, animosity towards women, their own existential hatred of women onto these women through awful comments. So if you're a woman in front of that, and you're kind of absorbing that as sort of like the offloaded receptacle of men's rage against women, that has mental health damages. So I don't think that there is this kind of like one way to do it, that now it's all safe and secure and sanitary and above board and like we just don't need to worry about it anymore. I think there's a lot to wrestle with when it comes to this subject of how we treat our sexuality in a world where we have the internet and we're all kind of in touch with each other. I don't want to come across as pretending to have all the answers. But I do believe that there's a lot that we need to take into consideration and that we need to wrestle with. Um, but would it be okay if I just kind of pull back for a second to give a little bit more of like a framework for where I'm coming from
For
with all
sure.
this?
Yeah.
Do you want to
Of
jump in
course.
with something else? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, to your point, that was a really good point that you brought up about the camming, right? Like, so you're right, it's not completely sterile, and there's gonna be some effects of that, and we see that even with social media, right? So I think you don't necessarily need that sexual angle for that to be true. You can simply be a woman that exists
Yeah.
on social media
Yeah.
and you're going to be harassed. It's an
Yeah.
unfortunate response to the anonymity that these people think that they have. And I don't really know how you solve that either. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because then you get into censoring or Amendment encroaches, or you get someone that's tracking your IP to make you verify you are who you say you are before you log on to social. So that becomes that slippery slope argument. I don't like it more than the next guy. I don't even read half of my comments, otherwise I would lose my mind. And this is on public forums, you know what I mean? And
Mm.
I have a Candice Instagram that is nothing. There's zero sex appeal on that. It is podcast. It's family. It's my horse. It's real me, and it exists just as much there as it does on my other profiles.